Hello, and welcome to Aviation 101 with Laura. I'm here today by request to talk about aircraft dispatcher hiring and some interview tips. And I know people have also asked for a interview type thing where I ask hard interview questions. So I may incorporate a few in here, but I will try to do something like that in the upcoming months. But first, when you are looking for a job in aviation, specifically in dispatch, it is important to do your homework. Make your resume really good. Make it sell you. If you have special skills, like you speak another language besides English, I would put that on there. If you have a passport and you can travel, put that on there. If you have a pilot certificate or other aviation experience, you want those things on the top part of that resume, so it's the first thing that they see when you're looking at that. And while you're at it, make sure you do not have typos. Have several people look at your resume and verify that there are not typos on the resume. You really want to say who you are and express yourself and really sell yourself. Why are you a good fit for the position? What else have you done in aviation? What volunteer work have you done? And if you haven't done any volunteer work in aviation, maybe you should do some. That might help your resume stand out. Also, when you are communicating with a recruiter at the airline you're trying to work for, you want to communicate professionally. You want to send emails with a dear such and such person's name or good morning or whatever and a body and then your name at the end, not just one-line things that sound like texts. That is not communicating professionally. A big part of being a dispatcher is communication. So use tools that you have. You can use like AI tools to help you compose emails and make sure you're sounding professional when you're sending emails and communicating with people. Also, it really helps to talk with people that work for the company or companies that you're applying to work for, because they can give you a really good idea of how to help your resume stand out. What are they looking for? And maybe you can even do some job shadowing. Maybe you can sit there at the desk with your friend who works for the company already. Maybe you get to meet the manager. While you're doing that, make sure you're being professional, because that really goes a long way. Now, let's say you get, a little farther in the process, make sure you study. Most companies are going to have some kind of written test or an online test or something, maybe more than one, and you want to find out about that before you show up for interview day. Do not expect nothing to happen and then be shocked that there's a test. You can go online to different forums, you can go on Facebook, you can join dispatch groups, again, talk with current employees, like how does the hiring process work, so that you know and you're prepared and you have studied for that. Oral questions. So you might expect them to ask you some oral questions about your knowledge. Okay, so make sure you're up on critical topics having to do with dispatch. Like I would be able to talk about what is operational control. I would be able to talk about how to derive alternate minimums using OpSpecs. So these are kind of things that you want to be reviewing when you're going into an interview. And so like I'm saying, study beforehand. You might have thought you've done studying at the end of dispatch class. I'm sorry. No, you were not. So, all right, now let's say you get an interview day. Yay, interview day. Make sure you know about the company. Make sure you've done some homework and you've read about the company. Make sure you know how to spell the name of the company. For example, Delta Airlines. That is 3 words. That's not 2 words. So you want to spell things correctly. You want to know about the company's history. You want to know something about them. You also really need to dress professionally. I see this a lot with students. I do kind of like a interview prep session sometimes. Especially make sure that your socks go with your dress shoes. And by that, I mean not like white socks, okay? Different, like dark socks with dark shoes would be good. Make sure that you're setting yourself apart. If you show up in a nice suit and the other people are there in a polo shirt or a t-shirt, you're going to stand up. You're going to stand out. Shake hands in a firm way. Make eye contact. You are selling yourself. Also, when you're doing the interview, it's very nice to ask a few questions. So have a few questions that you can ask the recruiters. They spend all day asking people questions. They like it when you have a few questions. But don't ask only questions about what's in it for me and how awesome you're going to, give me this insurance and this benefit and all these things and pumping them for information about that. Give them questions that you have genuinely about working for the company. Now, what if you get like a gotcha question? I don't know. Let's say you get a question that says, wow, a crew member calls before the flight to talk to you about their release and they sound kind of drunk. What would you do? Well, the correct answer is not just send the flight release and let the flight go on its merry way. The question is probably better answered by talking with your supervisor, possibly calling the pilot pro standards. But they don't want you to get backed in a corner where you're like forced to do something illegal. Make sure you're thinking about some scenarios. Like, let's say you have a flight where they want to add a bunch of extra cargo and you need all the fuel to do the flight. You can't bump any fuel anymore. What can you do to still have the flight operate? Well, be creative. Maybe you add a fuel stop in the middle. So you have like these hypothetical situations that you can still accomplish the idea of the flight within safe rules, but be, able to think kind of on your feet. And also, while we're on the subject of interviewing, be a person of integrity. I interviewed pilots for many years in a previous employer position, and sometimes people came to us, and a few of them I could tell they were lying, and I'm not going to hire someone who lies. We're putting you in charge of a quite expensive operation as a dispatcher. You have a lot of tools. You have a lot of ability to make decisions. We need people with integrity, so don't lie. If there's something that happened at a different job that didn't go well, be ready to talk about it, okay? I have another video, which I can point you to in the description, where I did a runway incursion at DFW. It was really bad, but I'm not going to lie about it. I'm going to tell the potential employer if they ask, about something. Then I'm going to tell them the truth about it and be a person of integrity and tell what I learned from it. And honestly, that goes a lot farther and much better than trying to hide things. Last, let's talk about after the interview. I recommend, this might be old-fashioned, but send a handwritten thank you note. You're most likely the only person who interviewed, or a very few who are going to actually take the time to send the recruiter or the pilot hiring or dispatch hiring or whatever you're trying to get a job with, a handwritten thank you note to whoever it was that interviewed you. That's going to help you stand up from the rest of the people. Following up, you want to follow up not constantly, but in a courteous manner with good grammar, following up. And when you're doing these communications, you want to communicate promptly. You want to answer them what they have to say, communicate professionally. Again, not sending like text messagey type emails, okay? Following up so you know where you stand in the hiring process. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. I would love to hear your tips, so put them in the comments. Let's give each other some love and some tips on other things you've seen when you've been interviewing and what worked, what didn't work. What did you learn from that really bad interview that you did? And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Take care. Have a great day. Thanks for watching Aviation 101 with Laura.